Hello, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio. I'm your host, JJ, broadcasting from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And we have a good one for you this week. You may know our next guest from one of the judges for the Wacken Metal Battle Canada, but you probably know her best for fronting power metal faves Unleash the Archers, who have a brand new album called Phantoma coming out on May 10th through Napalm Records, which you can pre-order now on differentstagesradio.com. My guest, BRITTNEY SLAYES. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for making
Good.
the time. I'm so sad though that, there was just this past weekend was the Wacken Metal Battle for the Vancouver, British Columbia region, and I was sad to not be a part of that, but you were. I was lucky enough to slide in through right at the end and catch the last band.
Yeah.
Not that you advanced, but yeah. So how was that for you on Saturday?
It was great. I love
Yeah.
doing the metal battle. Um it's just a good time to see kind of what's going on in the Vancouver scene, who the young bands are. And also, when we were starting out, I would have given anything to hear from, a more experienced musician on what we were doing wrong and what we needed to fix and all that kind of stuff. So I try to be as positive as possible, but also give some pointers because we like to do like a little critique after each set. We kind of bring the band out in front of everyone and say, this was awesome, this needs work or whatever, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just try and be positive and help out as much as I can because yeah, it's a tough world out there, and if you can get tips or pointers on what to do, then that it can go a long way.
And I appreciate that. I feel that the times I've judged with you is that I feel that your takes, you're able to like, because I find this a bit of a hard thing for a lot of times. It's just music in general that people have that inability to not be able to pull away and give a fair assessment if it's maybe not something that might be in your lane.
Right.
Is that a
Yeah.
fair assessment? Because I feel that you have that ability to go, okay, this might not maybe be my thing, but
Right.
on a broader level, how could this appeal potentially to somebody else? And I
For
think
sure.
that's a great quality.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you got to be open-minded, and just because it's not the metal that I listen to doesn't mean that it's not good. It's yes, you gotta pull yourself out of it and be a little bit more subjective sometimes.
Totally. And from what I understand, I don't know if this is still the case, but from Mayo, from the Invisible Orange, who helps coordinate the Vancouver or the British Columbia battles through the last 8, 9, 10 years, that I think we might be, or you might be, we might be the only region that does the critique. I think
Oh,
everybody else,
really?
I'm pretty sure, I remember Mayo mentioning that to me at one point, because that's something that I mentioned the very first year. I said, so after each band, are we going to kind of tell them what we think? And he's like, I didn't think about that. So I'm like, well, I think it'd be kind of cool rather than us just kind of mumbling to ourselves about what's good about them and what not is
Hmm.
good, or maybe something that they could work on. So I don't know if that's something we should maybe both reach out to Mayo and see if that's become something that is spread through the different regions throughout Canada, because I think it's important that the bands get that. And I think they really appreciate that.
Totally. Yeah, I think so. And I think it makes it more of a thing. It's just
Yeah.
another show where someone wins something at the end if you don't kind of make a little bit of a spectacle of it. So yeah, I mean, I love that. It's my favorite part for sure.
Yeah. But do you find after sitting through 5 bands when you're really needing to pay attention to perhaps kind of lose a bit of attention? Just because it's a lot. Because again, you're one of the ones that are potentially going to make this band move on or not.
Hmm.
Because I'll say firsthand, I find it a bit of a challenge because it's a lot to absorb. Even though they're shorter sets, it's you really want to be fair and have fresh ears for each band.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, it's sometimes your mind wanders a little bit, but I think yeah, kind of what I usually tend to do is I'll listen for like the first two tracks, and then I'll start searching around on the internet for that band and see, because when we decide who makes it into the battle, I go to YouTube first and foremost, just to see what the quality of their music videos is.
Interesting.
And yeah, I know, right? Because I know when I was talking to Chris and others while we were just going through that process, I think I was the only one that was referencing YouTube videos and not just Spotify or something like that, Bandcamp. So that's the first thing that I do. And then so that's kind of where I make my decision as I go to YouTube to see what their, visual presence looks like. And then I'll go to Spotify to see what their digital presence looks like. And then if they're not on Spotify, I'll go to Bandcamp. And then, so when we're watching the shows, I like to kind of scoot around and see what else they got going on. How active are they on Instagram? And so sometimes, if I can get a pretty good idea of a band within the first couple tracks, because normally they want to come out with a bang, so they'll play their best stuff right away. And then, I'll just kind of use that time to dig around and see the other aspects of the group and see where they are at in their career in terms of social media, because it is so important. So a lot of time, and I hope that they don't, because we had like spotlights on us a couple times.
Oh, totally.
I was like, I hope they're not looking at me on my phone being like, oh my God, she's not paying attention anymore. I'm like, no.
Making notes. I'm just making notes.
Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully they see that I reference my phone, many times throughout the conversation at the end, so they know that that's what I'm doing. But still, sometimes a band kind of gives you what they got right at the beginning, and then sometimes you're just enthralled the whole time, and you can't wait to see what they come up with next. So, but I'm not trying as much as I can to give them every ounce of my attention. It's one night, I can handle not heading to the bar during the opener for one night.
You can deal. Very good.
Yeah.
So this year's winner was Arrow in the Quiver,
yes.
Who I did not see perform. I've seen them previously, but I didn't see them on Saturday night. What did you feel that perhaps separated them from the rest of the pack?
I think they were super trendy. So they are kind of playing what's hot right now, music-wise. A very inspired technical death metal with a little bit of flair in there. So, what bands like Allegiant and Motionless in White and Falling in Reverse and what a lot of bands like that are doing, but with their own kind of touch on stuff and a little bit of, I compare them to what Limp Bizkit wished they could be when they made their big return.
Okay.
Because they got a little bit of that hip hop vibe going on too. He does some raps in there in some of his stuff. So it's very cool with what's going on right now. And I just thought that it would be, accessible to a lot of metalheads in general. And they're also extremely polished. Their music videos are like really well done, and their music is well written, and it's catchy, and the riffs are clean, and they got great tone. They were just kind of like a package that was ready to go. And when we were discussing them in the back room, I was kind of like, well, there was this other band on the bill that was almost where they're at. They just needed a couple more things kind of to get them to this point. And I was like, maybe we should go with these guys, because I think they actually need us more than Arrow in the Quiver does. But then we were kind of like, well, who are we to decide that? We felt that they were the Arrow was the best band of the night. They should be the ones to move on, kind of a thing. So that was in the end what decided it. But yeah, I just felt like and I don't know, Edmonton, tell me what you think, but I think that they're going to do well in Alberta. So I'm hoping that because it tends to be what it is that the final, whatever city it's in, a city from that band is who goes forward.
And
Yeah, and it's really funny because it's been in Toronto for years, and for years it's been, a Toronto or a Montreal band that go forward. And so I would like to say that if it came to Vancouver that I'd be open-minded, but I also am just kind of like, let's get a freaking Vancouver band out there. Like, I don't care who else is on the bill, the Vancouver band's going to win it. So yeah, it's hard to say if Edmonton is going to do the same, favor their own over out-of-towners, or if they're going to hear what we heard and be like, holy crap, this band is amazing. Let's have them represent Canada at the Wacken Metal Battle. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Perfect. So speaking of new music, you've got a big album coming out. Like you guys are, it's a thing. It's a thing. So May 10th, Phantoma comes out. You have the first single ready to go there. Yeah, Green and Glass.
Hmm.
Video is out now that came out a couple of weeks ago. I think it's
Yeah.
doing fairly well. People are seeming to absorb it. I'm enjoying it as well. Tell us about the album. What's going on?
Yeah, so it's a concept record because I don't really write anything else anymore. And it's about an AI who basically works in like the future version of what an Amazon warehouse is going to be. So she's just a computer program that ships and delivers and things like that, all the things that humanity needs in this kind of dystopian near future where the planet has gone to shit because we've destroyed it, and humankind all lives in biomes where they are protected from the crappy climate. And these hubs that Phantoma works in, that she runs, it just provides everything that a human could ever need, basically. So it's like these kind of very isolated um, habitats. Humanity in here, and then the AI in there. But the biomes are also run entirely by AI. So humanity can just do whatever they want. They're living these lives of luxury. And Phantoma can see them on what I call the netaverse, and she just falls in love with humanity and wants to be one of them and wants to live among them, and vows to escape her her bonds as this you know
Wow.
system that runs a hub. And yeah, she figures it out. She escapes, and we just kind of follow along with her adventure. Um, we recorded it actually in Victoria at a studio there, and Andrew did all the engineering, which was really new for us because normally we go to Denmark with Jacob, but this time he just did the mixing and mastering. So it was a very different process. Same thing. We all lived in an Airbnb together and wrote all the songs together like we always do and everything. But yeah, it was just kind of a bit of a different experience. But we think it's got a similar sound to the last few albums with maybe a little bit something new in there. So yeah, we're excited.
Well, I appreciate you bringing up Jacob because I was going to ask about him because seems like you have a pretty good relationship with him. It's been a few albums now that you've worked together.
Hmm.
How did that connection happen? Was that through Napalm or was that something on your own?
No, yeah, we before we were even signed to Napalm, we contacted Jacob to do Time Stand Still, which was our 2015 album. And we were like, okay, we're in talks with Napalm Records, and they wanted a new album from us, and we had 3 demos that we had sent to them, and we're like, these are the demos for the new album. Are you interested? Actually, they had come to us and were like, are you doing a new album? We're like, oh, yes, we are. Here you go. And then they were like, yeah, this is great. Okay, let us know when it's done. So we were kind of like, oh, let's get it done. Because we were just taking our time because we were like indie and,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
could
yeah.
do whatever you want. And so we contacted Jacob and we were like, hey, we'd love to come there and record with you and get your full meal deal that you do. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm booked for like the next 6 months.
Hmm.
So we were like, oh, okay. So we were like, okay, but can we like reserve time with you in 2 years for our next record? And he's like, no, come back to me when you're ready to record. And we were like, okay. So we did a time stand still like normal, but I was always just like, oh man, I can't wait to get to Jacob. We have this conversation going now, and I had found him on Wikipedia because I was just like, who did the bands that I love? I was like, who did Under the Grey Banner by Dragonland? Oh, this guy named Jacob Hansen. Okay, cool. Who did the Mercenary record that I love? The Time That Remains, or what's it called?
Well, yeah,
Anyways.
yeah. I know.
And
Yeah.
yeah. Who did that? Oh, Jacob Hansen. Okay. Who did, what was the other one? Like, I just kept typing in albums that I loved that I could listen beginning, the last Amaranth album that I had been listening to. Jacob Hansen. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, here's our guy,
Yeah, and the stuff with
and
Evergrey and Catatonia.
yep, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, he's just done
yeah, it's
just done a
ridiculous.
ton,
Yeah.
amazing records, all. And so I was like, okay, well, that's the guy. So that's why we contacted him, because we just knew that he created a sound that we loved. And so yeah, when we finished, when Time Stand Still finally came out, we had been sitting on the record for a little while. We had most of the songs written, they just weren't recorded. So when that came out, we were like, all right, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. Let's move on to the next one so that we can
Yeah,
record with
yeah, yeah,
Jacob.
yeah.
So Time Stand Still came out in like, I can't even remember, May of 2015, and we were in the studio by December 2016 with Jacob because we were like, let's do this. So, and it's just been kind of an awesome relationship ever since.
That's really cool. Like the
Mhm.
fact that so he just mixed and engineered, like, so you engineered it yourself. He
Yes.
mixed mastered it, or?
This one, Phantoma. So what you do is you get all the tracks in a nice, pretty little package, and then
Yeah,
you send it to him, and he does the rest. Yeah.
he makes it all fancy.
Hmm. Exactly. And he does a
Yes.
great job. It's really funny because there's things, there's a lot that Andrew did. A
Mhm.
lot. He did quite a bit of the production of it. So that's the in a tidy little bow part that Andrew did. But there's just some things that you can hear and you know that Jacob did them. Like there's some of my vocal parts where I end with like a kind of a wail, and then you would hear it like echoing like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bars later. And I'm like, oh, Jacob, that's such a Jacob thing. So I just love stuff like that. Yeah, he's
Kind of
amazing.
his little signature, I guess, at the end.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
like
Yeah.
you're not surprised, and it's like, okay,
No,
yes,
no, yeah, yeah. It's incredible. I don't know what he does. He's like a vocalist pro. I
okay.
feel, I don't know, he would probably, he would argue with me that he's like, no, no, my thing is drums. Like, I'm a great drum producer. And I'd be like, nah, I think your thing is vocals, Jacob. But that's just also me being a vocalist and being so impressed with the way things turn out because they just, it's crazy. Like, they don't sound completely different, but they just, all of a sudden they're fuller and bigger and like when I say, can you make this part sound like I'm in a church, it does, like, it's just, I don't know how he does it. Yeah.
So clearly the communication isn't a problem. So that's good.
Oh no, yeah, yeah,
No,
it's great.
that's perfect. So you got the two release shows coming up in
Hmm.
May. You have one in Vancouver, you have one in Victoria. So
Yeah.
kind of home and home, I guess.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
sound fair? So May 24th in Victoria? I
25th.
put my little note. 25th?
Saturday the 25th, and
Yeah,
then
Saturday.
Friday the,
Yeah,
the
25th.
31st.
And then May 31st. The album once again comes out on May 10th.
Yes.
Um, so I'm going to throw this at you now, just blindside you with this. I was talking with Mile from the Invisible Orange. For those who don't know the Invisible Orange, they put on a lot of really wicked shows throughout British Columbia, metal shows. I spoke to Mile. I said, hey, what do you think about doing a contest? And he said, that sounds awesome. So we're going to be doing something. I mean, I'm just going to throw the bug in your ear. Maybe you can come up with an idea, but we're going to give away a pair of tickets through differentstagesradio.com to both shows, along with a gig poster to each show. So people
Awesome.
may want to stay tuned for that. So that's kind of exciting. So just throwing that your way.
For
Maybe
sure.
you can come up with maybe the trivia or some nifty way on how people can win the goods.
Heck yeah, yeah.
I think that
That's
would be
awesome.
pretty cool. But yeah, I was also looking, you got a crazy 2024 happening here.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if perhaps you've even grasped what you were going to be undertaking for the
No.
next 6 8 months. But
I
for
mean,
those,
a little, but yeah.
yeah, I was kind of looking at the list. I was making like, what's going on here? So you got Legions of Metal in
Hmm.
Chicago in May.
Yep.
You're going to Australia and New Zealand in June.
Hmm.
You're spending a ton of time in Europe doing Time to Rock. In Sweden, Masters of Rock in Czechia,
Yep.
Bloodstock in the UK, Rock Hars in Germany, Wacken in Germany, and then you got the fall with fall tour with Powerwolf. What the
Hmm.
hell? What's going on?
We're releasing an album. That's what happens. You tour the crap out of it.
Yeah,
So yeah, it
but
was just kind of
say hearing or looking at it that way is it just kind of like you're trying to slap yourself a bit or pour some water over your head and going, what is going on here? But it probably feels awesome.
Yeah, no, we're very excited because when we released Abyss in 2020,
Mhm.
we had all of this booked. We had most of the same festivals, a few that we haven't rebooked for. Um, we had the Australia New Zealand thing booked, but not announced. We had so much booked, and then of course the pandemic destroyed all of it. And so we have just been dying to get back to that place. We were calling 2020 the year of tour because we just wanted to be on the road basically the whole year. That was our plan. The second the album comes out, hit the road and don't come home. And so we've just been kind of scrambling to get back to that place. So yeah, that we've kind of packed ourselves a pretty full calendar here because we just want to tour the crap out of this thing. And we toured a bit at the end of 2021, but it was only the States because that was the only place where we could go. It was the only place that was open, really. And yeah, so we've just kind of been dying to get back on the road. So Europe is like all the weekends. So we're basically just going to live over there for like 5 or 6 weeks and kind of
maybe book some update shows yourself.
Yeah, maybe something like that. And then it's really funny because it's like, wait a minute, that's coming up here, so I should probably figure that out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and we wanted to get this Australia New Zealand thing out there because we've been trying for years, and Powerwolf was just like a super cool opportunity that came up, and yeah, there's a few more things that we want to do, so hopefully we'll be able to get those booked in as well, and yeah, just kind of tour as much as possible on the new record, and then sit down and write the next one.
There you go. So I gather a new single then in a couple more weeks to help gain some awareness and get people excited for the album.
Yep. Yeah. Coming in March, mid-March. Yep.
Mid-March, watch for a new single. We'll think about that contest and so forth. I wanted to ask you just before we wrap this up, your work with Arjen and Arjen, that seems to be something that's really special for you. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Arjen is a really cool project because Arjen just writes everything and then hires vocalists, basically, is what it is. He does everything except for Joost, I think, does the keyboards and stuff like that. So he gets some amazing talent, and I was aware of the 0100101 record, but I wasn't like a huge listener to it, but I just knew that it was most people considered it to be their best record. So when he asked me to be a part of Star One, which is his science fiction project, I was kind of like, oh, this is, so finally to be involved with Arjen and what he does, which is just this kind of cool amalgamation of all these amazing artists. And then so that was just an honor in general in itself. But then when he asked me to play, do the Live Beneath the Waves show in Tilburg, it was like an opportunity, dream come true kind of a thing to be a part of it. So it was just, yeah, it was overwhelming a little bit, kind of being like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to be doing this. And it's like I'm singing Floor Jansen's parts, and I'm like, this is insane. Huge shoes to fill. So I just worked my butt off basically, and yeah, when I got there, it was like the greatest time ever. It was so much fun. And so not only was it this really cool opportunity, but it was like one of the best experiences of all time. And so when I came home, I was just like, oh my God, I want to talk about this kind of, because it was like, I've been in theater my whole life up until university, and it felt very much like that. Everyone is backstage hanging out, and we've all got our parts to play, and we're all excited to be there, and you do the same show every night, same venue every night. So, but then it was metal. It was, I was getting to play heavy metal and get to do what I do best. So it was just this great place to be, and I can't stop raving about it for sure.
I can't tell. Sounds like a horrible, horrible experience.
I know, right? Oh my God. And then just like surrounded by icons of metal vocalism. So it was kind of cool. Yeah.
I'm wondering if this might potentially bleed to maybe some work you may do maybe with Tobias Sammet and do some Avantasia work maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I haven't been a huge Avantasia. I love Ed Guy. I love
I'm big on the Ed Guy
stuff. Yeah. So, that would be cool, but I don't think he knows who I am. I'm not on his radar at all.
If you're listening to Different Stages Radio right now, get in contact with BRITTNEY SLAYES. She wants to make an Avantasia record, or maybe an Ed Guy. We're due for an Ed Guy album. It's been quite some time.
Yeah. Yeah. Long time. Yeah.
Long time.
I would love that.
Long time. So I appreciate you taking the time for Different Stages Radio. Don't forget about the new album, Phantoma, coming out on May 10th on Napalm Records. You can pre-order it, like I said, now on differentstagesradio.com. New single coming mid-March, you said. touring the globe through 2024. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for
That
having
is
me.
that is awesome. So thanks to Brittney Slayes, and thanks for listening to Different Stages Radio.
Bye.